Hello everyone. Are you a new homesteader or are you interested in long-term food storage or long-term food preservation? Maybe you're a prepper, maybe you're a beginner prepper, or maybe you're just into the convenience of having a ready-made meal. Ready to go convenience meal, ready to go just sitting in the pantry. Many lifestyles these days appreciate a convenience meal. What we're doing today is showing you how incredibly easy it is to pressure canned beef stew. That's right, how to pressure can beef stew. You guys need to know that pressure canning is incredibly easy. Some people say that it's a little bit intimidating at first, but once you get one time or two times under your belt, trust me, the confidence comes very quickly. When you get to pressure canning your second or third time, you're feeling like a champ, you're feeling like a professional, and you're gonna get hooked. So whether you're prepping or just trying to be ready for this inflation, food shortages, or whatever it is, convenience meals, what we're doing today is showing you how easy it is to pressure can beef stew and putting it on the shelves for many, many years. Biggest thing is this is a super easy process to learn. Let's do this. Special welcome to all of our subs. If you're brand new here and you guys are interested in news updates that affect you, how-to videos, emergency preparedness, stuff like this, learning how to preserve your food long-term, be sure to hit that notification bell so you guys can stay up to date. Let's jump into this one. So like I said, what we're doing today is teaching you how to pressure can beef stew, whether you're into long-term food storage, stacking it to the rafters, prepping, or whatever it is. We're gonna show you just how easy it is. So real quick, let's go through what you will need on hand. With this recipe, we are using wide mouth quarts today. We prefer wide mouth for sure, just about on everything. We've got chopped up beef. We've got very fresh organic carrots. We have super fresh Walla Walla sweet onions that I show you how to grow in that video right there. And we've got some diced up potatoes. Here we have some white vinegar ready to go. Right here we have Redmond's real salt. Now you can use whatever kind of salt you want. You can use canning salt. We prefer the real stuff. We have a funnel if you want to use a funnel. We've got the debubbler little gauger stick. We've got a jar grabber. We've got a teaspoon measurer. Over here we have the pressure canner. We prefer an all-American model number 921. We've got about 2 inches of water above that spacer already warming up. As you can see, it's just starting to steam, so this is where we want it. We always recommend buying local, but if you guys happen to be an Amazon person or you just want to reference some of the items that we use, we will leave links down in the description below for everything that we use. Okay, so for starters, all of our jars and lids are sanitized and clean. Now you guys can use a 1 cup measuring cup, or you can be like me, wash your hands and just use your hands because it's a lot faster. But roughly about 1 cup of sliced beef in the bottom of the jars. So you can see once it's compact down, that's probably about 1 cup. Now you could brown this in a pan if you wanted to. It adds a little bit to the taste, but for us, I personally think that it just adds to the length of this whole process and it's not worth it. Next thing we're gonna add is some potatoes. Good handful layer of potatoes. Now this is something that you can add if you want to. Obviously you can add just about whatever you want. But in this case, we're doing peeled potatoes. Remember, when you're dealing with root vegetables, you want to peel them when it comes to pressure canning. Okay, so up next, we'll do these amazing looking carrots. Aren't those good looking? Multicolor. Now remember, your ratio can change. All of these things, you could do all vegetables, you could do all meat. It's totally up to you on what ratio you want with whatever vegetables you're throwing in here. Okay, now for our Walla Walla sweet onions that we grew. I showed you guys how to grow 100 onions super easy in a raised box in that video right there. I'll leave it at the end of the video and in the description below in case you want to see how we did that. Okay, you're gonna bring all of your ingredients up to that 1-inch headspace, which is ballpark this lower line. I like to aim for that lower line below that line. You can kind of see that crease in the glass right there. It's about an 1/8 inch below this line is what I shoot for. Okay, if I'm crying at the end of this video, it's not emotions, it's these onions. Okay, so some of you guys might want to use a funnel. A funnel is going to be helpful because it's going to keep from stuff getting on the rim, especially that meat fat. And the meat fat is one of the things that you don't want on the rim because fat is known to kind of hinder the sealing process because it's so greasy. Next thing we're going to do in the quart-sized jars is we're going to do a teaspoon of your salt of preference. Now remember, this thing's gonna be boiling in there for 90 minutes, so it's gonna do all the mixing for you. And you can add other dry herbs, but what we like to do is keep it fairly plain. That way you have more options when you actually take it out of the jar, throw it in the pan on top of the oven and make a meal. You can add what you want to add then, and you don't have to worry about making it too potent. Some people say that if you add in too many ingredients or certain ingredients, it can make it bitter over the super long shelf life. All right, the next thing we're gonna do is take some hot water. We already warmed up this hot water a little while ago when we first started. So you're gonna bring that hot water up to that 1-inch line. So another thing you can do is you can add broth right here. If you wanted to add broth, you can add broth. We add hot water. This little handy dandy stick, these little sticks have a measuring device right here. Right there is the 1-inch line, so you can know right where you're at. And before measuring, what you want to do is you want to poke this down in a couple spots, make sure there's no big old hidden bubbles down there somewhere. It only takes a few pokes in each jar. What we're doing here is just debubbling all of your ingredients. Make sure all the big bubbles are out. And you guys will see how effective this is. Once you start poking these, you'll see the bubbles coming up to the top, so they hide in there. Okay, so like I said, if you're a beginner, just use this stick and it'll tell you if you're right there. And the other thing you can do is always refer to your user manual. This little measuring device works really well, and after a while, you'll kind of develop an eye for it. Next step is to take your white vinegar and just be sure all of your rims are clean in case you got something on them when putting in your ingredients. Last thing you want is one of your seals to go bad. If that happens, be sure to put it in the fridge within 24 hours and you guys can still eat it as long as you do that, just like any other refrigerated food. Then we'll take our clean lids, place them center on top of each jar. We'll take our clean rims, tighten them down to about finger tight. You don't want to over crank on these things. Just screw them down, and you want to get a nice finger tight. Do not over tighten them. All the way down. All the way down. and a nice little finger tight. All the way down, finger tight. Okay, the next thing is to put it onto that tray that you have sitting down in the bottom of your pressure canner. We've already got the water warmed up. We turned it down just a few minutes ago, so it wasn't too hot. Okay, that's what it's looking like down there. You can see the water's up the jar just a little bit, but you never want it to come up past the rim. It's looking just like that. We're ready to put the lid on. Okay, so the tip to putting the lid on is you want to put it on nice and level. On these all-American pressure canners, you'll put it on, you'll turn it to the right. See how it goes like that? You want to look to make sure it looks fairly level. Then you'll go opposite sides with these screw down clamps. You'll go finger tight, opposites. Then go around, give everything a snug down. Now we're gonna bring up the heat until out of this port we get a solid steam, and then we're gonna let that steam run for about 10 minutes. Okay, so when you see your steam port pushing out solid steam like that, you wanna set your timer for 10 minutes. Then we can put on the weighted gauge, and then it's go time. Okay, so the timer went off, it's been 10 minutes, now it's time to put on our weighted gauge. Now what you'll notice here is it says 5, 10, and 15 with a hole on each side. You, based on what elevation you currently live at, will determine on what number you put it on. For us, it's a 15. We'll take the 15, we'll come right over here from the back side, just like that. It'll get instantly quiet. Okay, so now that our weighted gauge is on there, we're gonna wait for it to jiggle. It's gonna jiggle 4 times per minute. That's what you wanna shoot for. And once you do it once or twice, you're gonna find a sweet spot on your dial, on your stove, or your range. And each time you do it, it's gonna be easier and easier. If you guys want more detailed information or visuals on this, be sure to check out these 2 videos right here. I go into a little bit more detail and depth on this with a lot of visuals. And don't worry, I'll leave those videos up at the end screen at the end of this video and also down in the description below. Okay, so you can hear it jiggling in the background. This guy is jiggling and sissing right now. What we want to do is turn this down a little bit. Find your sweet spot on your dial because you want this to jiggle about 4 times per minute. So since we got that constant jitter, we're gonna set that timer for 90 minutes starting now. And then we're gonna adjust our dial and get that jitter to be happening about 4 times per minute. And like I said, once you guys do this a time or 2, you're gonna find out the sweet spot on your dial, on your stove, or your range. I'm gonna go adjust my dial, and we'll see you guys in 90 minutes. Okay, so I know a lot of you guys out there get worried. I don't wanna do a pressure canner because it might blow up. Well, it's not gonna blow up. You see this little guy right here? That's a little thing, it's a safety mechanism. That thing's gonna pop before it ever blows up, so don't worry about that. Okay, everyone, 90 minutes is up. Time to turn off the heat. We obviously still got some sputters going on. So what we're gonna do now is wait till that pressure gauge gets to 0 before we go to the next step. And that's gonna take 5-10 minutes or so. So now that the pressure is at 0, you can take this off, just take it off like that. It'll make some noise. That's still pretty hot. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is let the pressure stabilize, which will take about 5 minutes, and then we'll get this thing open. Okay, so the pressure is acclimated. What we're gonna do is start taking the top off. You wanna open it up away from yourself in case there's steam. Just like that. As you can see, they're still boiling in there. Everything's real hot, so you're gonna wanna grab the jar grabber Be careful not to bang these jars on anything. You don't want to be knocking them on the sides. Okay, so what you're gonna want to do is you want to keep these about roughly 2 inches apart while they're cooling. Just like that. Okay, you might be wondering how long we're gonna let these things cool down. Gonna take about 16 hours. What we do is we just let them sit overnight and then we deal with them in the morning. Okay everyone, it's been overnight. These things have definitely cooled down. What do we do now? First thing we do is remove all of the rims. All the rims are gonna come off. Now many people ask, why do we take the rims off? We take the rims off because the seal has nothing to do with the rim. And you don't want to keep the lid pressure down and not know if the seal fails. So rims always come off. That way you guys always know that your seal is intact throughout the duration of your long-term food storage. The tip is when you take all of your rims off, you do a nice little light tap. You tap all of your lids and you'll know if one doesn't have a good seal because it'll sound hollow. Next thing you're gonna do is make sure that you clean your jars. You don't wanna put anything dirty into your pantry or wherever you keep your food. So be sure your jars are all nice and clean. Next thing you're gonna do is label all your jars. You wanna know what the date was and what you got in the jar. Remember guys, share this type of video. If you want other people to learn these type of skills, videos like how to pressure can beef stew is the thing that people need to learn how to do. People need to learn how to be more self-reliant because we're gonna be facing more inflation, possible food shortages, and having food prepped like this, knowing how to do this type of thing is so important these days. These old school long-term food preservation methods are super good to know. Like I said, so much easier than you think. These things have been known to last up to 15 years by many people that I know. That is if you store it in optimal conditions, cool, dark place, in which we have a lot of extra resources and information in those 2 other videos that I put out earlier. Be sure to check those recipes out if you guys are really getting into pressure canning. If you guys are getting serious about this, the goal is to get up enough prepped foods so that you can be using and cycling your stuff every single year. I believe 1 to 5 years is what's recommended for optimal nutrients and taste. But like I said, everything done correctly, I know people that have eaten this stuff well over 15 years and says it tastes just the same as when they made it. Anyway guys, right there, a convenience meal, something that you can put on your shelf. It's ready to go. All you gotta do is stick it in a pot on the stove and you've got an instant meal. Please like and share this video. Please leave a comment down below. Let us know if you like these type of videos. Keep prepping, keep learning, keep doing. We'll see you guys on the next one.